Clint Eastwood's Tonight Show appearance explodes into a fiery clash with Jimmy Fallon. The legendary actor shuts down Fallon's antics, demanding respect for his craft. Tensions soar as the audience splits, and a viral storm brews. Buckle up for the showdown. The Tonight Show set buzzed with anticipation. Jimmy Fallon, all grins and energy, leaned forward in his chair, ready to welcome a legend. The audience roared as Clint Eastwood strode out, his weathered face set in that iconic squint. At 95, he carried the weight of a career that defined Grit, his new film, The Long Ride, a gritty western tackling themes of redemption and loss, poised to hit theaters. Fallon, ever the showman, clapped wildly, feeding off the crowd's cheers. "Clint Eastwood, everybody! The man, the myth, the legend!" he shouted, tossing in a playful fist pump. Eastwood nodded curtly, settling into the guest chair with the air of someone who'd rather be anywhere else. "Thanks for being here, Clint," Fallon began, his voice bright. "Big film coming up, but first, let's have some fun. You've done it all, from Dirty Harry to directing Oscar winners. Ever think you'd still be making movies at this age?" The question was light, meant to ease into the banter Fallon thrived on. But Eastwood's eyes narrowed, his voice low and deliberate. "I make films because I've got something to say, Jimmy. Age doesn't factor in, the work does." The audience murmured, sensing a shift. Fallon, undeterred, chuckled. Fair enough. But come on, you've got to admit, it's wild to be out here still kicking butt on screen, right?" Eastwood leaned back, his fingers drumming the armrest. "What's wild is folks thinking entertainment's just about kicking butt. This film's about what it costs to keep going when the world's against you. That's what I came to talk about." His tone was sharp, cutting through Fallon's levity like a blade. The crowd stirred, some nodding, others glancing at Fallon, waiting for his pivot. Jimmy, sensing the tension, flashed a grin. "Totally get it, Clint, and we'll dive into that. But first, let's loosen things up. You're a Western icon. We've got a little game. Cowboy or cop, to guess your roles." He gestured to a prop table loaded with a toy gun and a cowboy hat, his eyes gleaming with mischief. Eastwood's jaw tightened. "I didn't come here to play games, Jimmy. I came to talk about the film, about respect, for the story, the people it's for." The audience hushed, the air growing thick. Fallon blinked, caught off guard, but recovered with a laugh. Okay, no games then, let's talk serious. The long ride? Heavy. Stuff, redemption, loss. What's the heart of it for you?" He leaned in, trying to steer back to safe ground, but Eastwood wasn't having it. "The heart? It's about earning respect, not demanding it. Something this show could use more of." A gasp rippled through the crowd. Some clapped, others whispered, sensing a line had been crossed. Fallon's smile faltered, but he pressed on. "Whoa, Clint, we're all about respect here. Just trying to keep it fun for the folks at home." He gestured to the audience, who offered scattered applause. Eastwood shook his head, his voice dropping to a gravelly edge. "Fun's fine, but when you dodge the real stuff, you're disrespecting everyone watching. They're not here for props and giggles. They want truth." The crowd erupted, split down the middle, some cheering Eastwood's defiance, others shouting support for Fallon. Jimmy's eyes darted to the control booth, then back to Eastwood. "All right, Clint, let's get real then. You're saying we're not giving you the platform you deserve?" Eastwood leaned forward, his stare piercing. "I'm saying you're more interested in selling a show than hearing what matters. You want to talk respect? Start by listening." The audience roared, the divide deepening. Fallon, visibly rattled, forced a chuckle. "Okay, we're listening now. Lay it on us. What's The Long Ride really about?" But Eastwood wasn't ready to let it go. "It's about men who stand up, even when the odds are stacked. Not about dancing around for laughs." The jab landed hard, and Fallon's face tightened. The segment was spiraling, and the clock was ticking. Would Fallon push back, or let Eastwood take control? The tension was electric, and the audience hung on every word. The Tonight Show set crackled with raw energy, the audience teetering on the edge of their seats. Jimmy Fallon, his usual charm fraying, gripped the arm of his chair, his eyes locked on Clint Eastwood. The legend's last words hung heavy. "It's about men who stand up, not dancing around for laughs." The jab had sliced through the room, and Fallon's forced smile couldn't mask the sting. He tilted his head, voice tight but still aiming for control. "All right, Clint, we're here for the real stuff. Tell us about standing up in the long ride. What's the fight in this film?" The crowd leaned in, hungry for Eastwood's response, but the air was thick with the unspoken challenge. Would Fallon hold his ground, or was Eastwood running the show? Eastwood's gaze didn't waver, his voice low and unyielding. "The fight's about honor, Jimmy. About a man who's lost everything but still chooses to face the truth. It's not some feel-good story. It's raw, it's ugly. You wouldn't know much about that, would you?" The audience gasped, some erupting in cheers, others booing, the divide sharpening. Fallon's jaw clenched, his fingers tapping rapidly on his desk. "Whoa, hold on," he said, his tone sharper now, dropping the playful veneer. "I'm out here every night, connecting with people, giving them a break from the heavy. That's not nothing, Clint. That's real, too." The crowd stirred, some clapping for Fallon's pushback, but Eastwood's expression didn't budge. "Connecting?" Eastwood shot back, his voice like gravel. "You call tossing out props and cheap gags connecting? People are tired of that noise. They want something that sticks, something that respects their intelligence." He leaned forward, pointing a finger. "You're selling a product. I'm telling a story." The audience roared, split down the middle, the noise swelling into a chaotic mix of support and dissent. Fallon's eyes flashed, his patience thinning. "Okay, Clint, let's not pretend you're above the game. You've done press. You've played the circuit. You're here now, on my stage. That's the deal, right? You promote, we entertain." His words were clipped, a challenge thrown down. Eastwood's lips twitched, almost a smirk. "Your stage? I'm here because I chose to be, not because I owe you a performance. You want to talk deals? How about the deal you make with the audience, promising them something real, then feeding them fluff?" The crowd exploded, some chanting, "Clint! Clint!" while others shouted for Fallon to fire back. Jimmy's face reddened, his voice rising. "Fluff? I'm giving people a reason to smile, to forget the mess out there. You think your film's the only way to reach people? Get off your high horse, Clint." The audience gasped, the tension spiking. Fallon had landed a blow, and for a moment, the room felt like it might combust. Eastwood sat back, his silence louder than words. Then, slow and deliberate, he spoke. "You don't get it, do you? Respect isn't a soundbite. It's not a laugh track. It's showing up with something worth hearing. You're too busy playing host to see that." The crowd's reaction was deafening, a tidal wave of cheers and jeers. Fallon, now visibly shaken, tried to pivot. "All right, let's talk your film. Then, redemption, honor. Give us the heart of it. No fluff, just you." But Eastwood wasn't biting. "You don't get to flip the switch now, Jimmy. You set the tone, and I'm not here to play along." He stood, his towering presence silencing the room. "I came to talk truth. You're not ready for that." The audience froze, jaws dropping as Eastwood turned, his boots clicking on the stage. Fallon scrambled, his voice cracking. "Clint, come on, we're not done. Let's talk the film." But Eastwood kept walking, his back to the host, the crowd erupting in a frenzy. Some screamed in support, others booed, the chaos spilling over as the cameras panned to Fallon's stunned face. He forced a laugh, but it was hollow. "Well, folks, that's Clint Eastwood for you," he said, his voice strained. The segment cut to black, but the internet was already ablaze. What had just happened? And how would Fallon recover from this? The Tonight Show stage was a powder keg, the echo of Clint Eastwood's boots still ringing as he vanished into the wings. Jimmy Fallon sat frozen, his forced laugh fading into the roar of the audience, half cheering for Eastwood's exit, half rallying behind their rattled host. The cameras lingered on Fallon's face, his eyes wide, his grin a brittle mask. "Well, folks, that's Clint Eastwood for you," he'd said, but the words landed like a bad punchline. Backstage, producers scrambled, headsets buzzing with panic. The internet was already on fire. Clips of the showdown racking up millions of views, hashtags like Eastwood vs. Fallon trending. Fallon's team urged him to pivot, to salvage the night, but the sting of Eastwood's walkout burned deep. This wasn't just a segment gone wrong, it was a public gut punch. Fallon stood, smoothing his suit, and faced the crowd. All right, let's keep this moving," he called, his voice straining for its usual bounce. The audience clapped, but it was uneven, their loyalties split. "Clint's a legend, right? He's got his way, I've got mine. Let's talk about what's next." He gestured to the band, the Roots, who kicked into a jazzy riff, but the energy felt forced. Fallon launched into a monologue, cracking jokes about Hollywood egos, but each line fell flatter than the last. The crowd's laughter was polite, not electric, and whispers rippled through the seats. People weren't buying the brush off. They wanted to know, was Fallon shaken, or was he brushing this off too easily? Backstage, the tension was thicker. Eastwood hadn't left the building. Word spread that he was in a green room, pacing, his publicist arguing with show staff. A producer approached Fallon during a quick break, whispering, "Clint's still here. He's saying you disrespected his work on live TV. Wants an apology." Fallon's face tightened, his jaw working. An apology? For what? Doing my job? He glanced at the stage where the audience waited, their eyes glued to him. The producer pressed, "Jimmy, this is blowing up online. People are siding with him. We need to address it." Fallon waved him off, but doubt flickered in his eyes. He'd built a career on charm, on making everyone feel at home. Had he misread Eastwood that badly? The show rolled on, but the confrontation hung like a storm cloud. Fallon introduced the next segment, a light-hearted game with another guest, comedian Melissa McCarthy. But even her infectious energy couldn't fully lift the mood. During a commercial break, Fallon huddled with his head writer, his voice low. "This is nuts. He walks off, and I'm the bad guy? I was giving him a platform." The writer shrugged. "People see him as the guy who stands for something. You came off like you were dodging the real talk." Fallon's eyes narrowed. "So what? I'm supposed to grovel? Let him hijack my show?" The writer hesitated. "Maybe you meet him halfway. Show you can handle the heat." When the cameras rolled again, Fallon took a risk. "Okay, folks, let's address the elephant in the room," he said, his tone serious but warm. The audience hushed, sensing a shift. "Clint Eastwood's a titan, and he brought some fire tonight. Maybe I leaned too hard into the fun stuff. But here's the thing. This show's about connecting, not clashing. So, Clint, if you're watching, let's talk. No props, no games. Just you and me." The crowd erupted, some cheering the olive branch, others murmuring skepticism. It was a bold move. But would Eastwood bite? Word reached Eastwood's camp, and a tense negotiation unfolded backstage. His publicist relayed his terms. No audience, no cameras, just a real conversation. Fallon bristled. "What? He gets to dictate. Now?" he snapped. But the producer's eyes were pleading. "Jimmy, this could save the narrative. People are eating this up." Fallon paced, torn between pride and pragmatism. The audience, unaware of the backstage drama, buzzed with anticipation, their phones lighting up with fresh posts about the feud. Online, the debate raged. Some called Eastwood a hero for calling out talk show fluff. Others backed Fallon for holding his ground. The clock ticked down to the final segment. Would Fallon face Eastwood man-to-man or let the legends walk out? Define the night? The Tonight Show's backstage was a pressure cooker, the clock ticking toward the final segment. Jimmy Fallon paced, his tie loosened, sweat beading on his brow. Clint Eastwood's demand, no audience, no cameras, just a raw conversation, hung like a gauntlet. Fallon's producer, eyes wide, pressed him. "Jimmy, this is your shot to flip the narrative. The internet's tearing you apart." Fallon stopped, fists clenched. "He walks off my stage, trashes my show, and I'm supposed to beg for a chat? That's not how this works." But the buzz from the audience, their phones glowing with viral clips of Eastwood's exit, told a different story. Online, the feud was a firestorm. Eastwood hailed as a truth-teller, Fallon painted as a lightweight. The host's pride warred with the reality. This could sink him. Fallon glanced at the stage, where the Roots were warming up, the crowd restless. "Fine," he snapped. "Tell Eastwood I'll meet him. But it's my show, my rules. We do it. Live, on air, or not at all." The producer hesitated, then nodded, darting off to relay the counter-offer. Minutes later, word came back. Eastwood agreed, but he'd only return if Fallon dropped the shtick. No props, no jokes, just the truth. Fallon's stomach churned. This wasn't his game. He thrived on charm, not confrontation. But the audience was waiting, and the world was watching. As the show resumed, Fallon took his seat, the crowd buzzing with anticipation. "Folks, we've had a wild night," he said, his voice steady but edged with nerves. "Clint Eastwood brought some heat earlier, and we're not done yet. He's back, and we're gonna talk. No games, just real." The audience roared, phones raised, ready to capture every second. Eastwood emerged, his stride deliberate, face unreadable. No wave, no smile, just a nod as he sat, his eyes locked on Fallon. The tension was suffocating. The crowd hushed, sensing the stakes. "Clint, thanks for coming back," Fallon began, his tone earnest. "I heard you loud and clear earlier. You want respect, truth. Let's do it. What's the long ride really about?" Eastwood leaned forward, his voice low. "It's about a man who faces his failures, owns them, and keeps going. Not about dodging hard truths for a laugh." The jab landed, and Fallon's jaw tightened. "I'm not dodging," he said, voice rising. "I'm out here every night, trying to give people a break from the grind. That's my truth. You think it's less because it's not your way?" The crowd murmured, split as ever. Eastwood's eyes narrowed. "Your way's fine for some, Jimmy, but when you sidestep what matters, you're shortchanging everyone watching. Respect starts with giving them something real." Fallon leaned in, his frustration boiling over. "And you think I don't? You think I'm just a clown out here? I'm fighting to connect, to keep this show alive in a world that's tearing itself apart. You don't get to judge that." The audience erupted, some cheering Fallon's fire, others shouting for Eastwood. For a moment Eastwood was silent, his gaze steady. Then a faint nod. "Maybe you're fighting," he said. "But fighting for what? If it's just noise, it's not enough." Fallon shook his head, his voice softer now, raw. "It's not just noise, Clint. It's hope. It's people laughing, together when everything else is falling apart. I respect your work. Can you respect mine?" The question hung, the crowd holding its breath. Eastwood's lips twitched, not quite a smile. "Respect's earned, Jimmy," he said. "You showed up tonight. That's a start." He stood, extended a hand. Fallon took it, the handshake firm, the crowd roaring. Eastwood left the stage, this time to applause, not chaos. Fallon faced the audience, his grin returning but different. Harder earned. "That's our show, folks. Thanks for sticking with us." The cameras cut, but the moment lingered. Online, the narrative shifted. Fallon had faced the legend and held his ground. The feud wasn't erased, but it was transformed. A clash of truths, not egos. Fallon, back in his dressing room, exhaled. He'd taken the heat and come out stronger. The night wasn't perfect, but it was real, and that was enough.